protesting vehemently against this unilateral alteration and hijacking by you of the drawing of lots exercise, turning the transparent exercise into an opaque and undemocratic stratagem destined to relegate opposition PQs in favor of government PQs, putting an end to your unlawful acts and doings, and to forthwith restore and implement the terms of the agreement, failing which legal action will be taken against you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And denunciation letters will be sent to parliamentary democracies throughout the world. Moreover, when given the opportunity to withdraw the allegations, the Honourable Member stated in the Assembly that he maintains the contents of his letter. In view of the above, I beg under Standing Order 17.3 to take the time of the House for urgent business.
Seconded.
The question is that the Honourable Prime Minister be allowed under Standing Order 17.3 to take the time of the House for urgent business. Those in favour say aye, those against say no.
Aye. Mr. Speaker, sir, having obtained your permission, I beg to move under Standing Order 29.1 to present a motion without notice.
I second.
The question is that the Honourable Prime Minister be allowed under Standing Order 29.1 to move a motion without notice. Those in favour say aye, those against say no.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of your announcement and in terms of the provisions of Standing Order 49.8, I beg to move that the Honourable Assyavaden be suspended from the service of the Assembly for today's sitting and the next 6 sittings unless unreserved apologies are tendered to you and to the House.
The question is that the Honourable Assyavaden be suspended from the service of the Assembly for today's sitting and the next 6 sittings unless unreserved apologies are tendered to the House and to the Speaker. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Ayes have it. Next question.
B282.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as per Section 21 of Workers' Rights Act, an employee is expected to work for a period not exceeding 8 hours daily. This caters for the two other segments of 8 hours in a day to be dedicated to his family and personal development, leisure, respectively. In the public service, the term and condition of employment of public officers put emphasis on the need to have a right work-life balance. Leave schemes in the public service consist of more than a dozen of different types of leaves to cater for a different number of occasions for which public officers have to be away from work. This is in line with a fundamental principle governing management of human resource in the public sector, which is to reconcile the professional life of public officers with their private and personal life. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Human Resource Management Manual defines leave as an authorized absence from work. An officer who is on authorized leave enjoys all the privileges attached to his post. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, leave is normally granted subjected to exigencies of the service and upon recommendation of the immediate supervisor and approval of responsible officer. Most of the parastatal bodies and state-owned enterprise tend to follow what are provided in the public sector as far as the leave schemes are concerned. Mr. Speaker, sir, since my taking of office as Minister responsible for the public service, administrative and institutional reforms in August 2023, I have adopted an open door policy and I have been meeting with representatives of trade unions and federations on a regular basis. Up to now, I have already met with 210 unions out of 310 registered union federations of different grades and cadre, including federation and other trade unions at departmental levels. There have been, so far, some very pertinent representation made by them which are of direct concern to the public officers regarding their career path, wealth, welfare, health and safety, and condition of service. In relation to leave schemes, two main issues were raised. Firstly, the casual leave for short duration warranting absences of public officers for less than half a day. Public officers were formerly not authorized to apply for casual leave for half a day. Secondly, the grant of study leave for part-time courses followed by public officers. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm pleased to inform the House that government has agreed to enable public officers to avail 2 hours of casual leave to cater for short absences from duty. A circular to that effect was issued by my ministry on 21st November 2023. The provisions regarding the grant of study leave to public officers willing to embark on a part-time self-finance courses have also been enhanced, and 2 circulars have been issued by my ministry on 15 March 2024 and 17 April 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a caring government, we are committed to improving the condition of service, including leave entitlement of our public officers in order to boost their morale, to perform better and smarter. Improvement in the management of leave to public officers is an ongoing process. The leave scheme are updated as soon as new regulation and new policies come into force. Further, my ministry has made submission to the PRB for its next report due to 2026 for further enhancement of the existing leave provisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, can the Honourable Minister elaborate on the 2 hours of casual leave that are now granted to public officers?
Mr. Speaker, sir, these type of casual leave or authorized paid absence from duty to cover short absences to attend to urgent personal matters, including religious obligation and family commitments. It caters for short and unexpected absences in foreseen and unforeseen circumstances. On many occasions, public officers have been made to apply for half-day casual leave to cater for short period of absences of 1 hour or 2 hours to attend to urgent personal matters. These officers could have more conveniently applied for 2 hours of leave instead of half-day casual leave. This is in the interest of both the officer and the ministry or department. The need to have more flexibility in the management of casual leave by allowing eligible officers to apply for 2-hour casual leave to cater for short absences have been examined by my ministry, and it is considered that this arrangement may be applicable in all ministries and departments subjected to the exigencies of the services. In view thereof, it has been decided that where less than half the leave is required, eligible officers would henceforth be allowed to apply for the at least 2-hour leave of the casual leave entitlement.
Can the Honourable Minister inform the House under which circumstances special leaves are granted to public officials?
Mr. Speaker, sir, according to paragraph 5.6.1 of the Human Resource Management Manual, special leaves in the form of 2-hour time off may be granted to public officers in respect of any 2 religious festivals of their choice during a year, subjected to the exigencies of the service. On 22 January 2024, subject to the exigencies of the service, a one-off special leave of 2 hours was granted to public officers of Hindu faith in the context of the inauguration of Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, India, which is a landmark event as it symbolizes the return of Lord Ram. Thanks to the Honourable Prime Minister, this was granted to allow officers to follow the event live and participate in the prayer. Moreover, on Friday 29 March 2024, subject to the exigencies of the service, a special leave of 2 hours was granted to the public officers of Christian faith Good Friday as from 14 hours in the context of Easter celebration 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next question.
B284.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will reply to PQB 284 and PQB 288 together as they relate to the same subject. My colleague, Honorable Haviram, has in reply to a private notice question on 23rd April 2024, provided much detail to the House on the extreme weather conditions that are being witnessed globally due to climate change, and Mauritius is not spared. The House was also informed of sustained efforts by the government to address the flooding issue. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Ministry of Social Integration, Social Security, and National Solidarity that in the event of cyclone warning class 3 or heavy rainfall declared by the National Emergency Operations Command, NEOC, the following are payable. A. Cyclone allowance of 250 rupees per person per night spent at the evacuee center, and B. Flood allowance of 250 rupees for damaged stuffs per person per day for a maximum of 3 days upon presentation of a police memo. In the wake of Cyclone Belal, the Ministry of Social Integration, Social Security and National Solidarity has effected payment amounting to 338,750 rupees and flood allowance to 3,709 families to the tune of 6,437,700 rupees. In addition, food packs were provided to 3,880 families affected by the cyclone. Mr. Speaker, sir, a one-off financial assistance of 2,000 rupees was also granted to households that have faced power cuts for 12 consecutive hours during the passage of Cyclone Belal. Some 33,502 households have benefited from this assistance. Mr. Speaker, sir, as for heavy rainfall on 21st April 2024, I am informed that the Ministry of Social Integration, Social Security and National Solidarity has effected payment to 351 families who had spent the night at the evacuee centers to the tune of 349,000 rupees and a flood allowance to 3,149 families to the tune of 3,264,750 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have been informed by the Central Water Authority and Central Electricity Board that there have been no major disruptions in water and electricity supply during the heavy rainfall on 21st April 2024. In light of the above, I will make an appeal to the Central Water Authority and the Central Electricity Board to take into account hardship cases following the recent flooding and extend payment facilities to households on a case-to-case basis. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Le ministre sera d'accord avec moi que ces familles ont tout perdu pendant ces inondations. Et elles n'ont rien touché comme compensation, contrairement à ce qui s'était passé en 2013, où les familles, les résidents de Canal d'Aïeux, avaient eu une compensation de 100 000 roupies. Ne pense-t-il pas que ces personnes méritent mieux?
Oui, je pense qu'ils méritent mieux, Monsieur le Président. This is why that I have stated at the end of my reply that the CB and the CWA will consider case, on a case-to-case basis, whether they could extend payment facilities to those families. That's what we can do at the level of these two organizations.
Lors de nos visites auprès des victimes de ces inondations, plusieurs familles se sont en effet plaintes de la nécessité d'utiliser du nettoyage à eau pressurisée pour enlever, gratter et laver la boue qui s'est accumulée chez eux. C'est dans ce sens qu'une demande a été faite à travers nos questions parlementaires pour qu'il y ait une considération spéciale pour soulager ces familles déjà en difficulté, un peu comme cela avait été fait, je dois le rappeler, lors de la crise sanitaire, et alors que nous faisons face à une crise climatique, pour réduire les factures d'eau et d'électricité qui sont liées spécifiquement à ces opérations de nettoyage qui sont indispensables.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I do understand the situation, but then let me give some information to the honourable member with regard to the regions which he has mentioned in his question. CW, that is the Central Water Authority, has analyzed the water consumption not only for that month where we had flooding, but from the month of November 2023 to March 2024 in order to determine the volume of water consumed during each of these months. Now, the result is that the consumption has been higher for the month of November 2023 as compared to the month of January 2024. So there has not been any excessive consumption of water. With regard to electricity, how can the organization determine that the excess electricity was used for cleaning purposes? If we have a formula to determine that, then we can give due consideration. But how can the organization determine whether the excess, if there is excess consumption, whether this can be related to cleaning purposes?
Next question.
B285.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited, the DICL, was incorporated on the 16th November 2021 with the primary objective to fast-track the implementation of drain projects under the National Flood Management Program. I wish to highlight that although the DICL is a state-owned company and does not fall under the purview of the Public Procurement Act for the purpose of procurement, the principle of good governance and transparency are observed. Bidding exercises are carried out by the company in all fairness to bidders. In this respect, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the DICL that all tenders are launched either on an open national bidding method or an open advertising bidding method. I'm further advised that the opening of tenders are attended by bidders. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm tabling the information requested by the honourable member.
Thank you. The honourable minister made mention that the procurement exercise is not subject to the Public Procurement Act. Can I ask him, in the light of this, whether he can tell the House the number of tenders that has been cancelled since the existence of the DICL and refloated thereof?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have tabled the information that was required in the question. I would very much answer the honourable member if I'm given notice of the question. I'm not holding all that information at hand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister consider to include the ICL in the public procurement regulation of the PPA in order to promote better accountability and transparency?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the DICL is run by a board. It has a chairman, it has members. It's they who decide about how to operate the company, and everything is done according to the law.
Next question, Honourable Duval.
B286, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Mauritius Multi-Sports Infrastructure Limited, MMIL, was incorporated in 2016. It is a state-owned company to promote Mauritius as a world-class facility for professional sports, for the organization of major sporting and recreational events, and
to be a hub for future sports developments. For the financial year 2022-2023, an amount of 57 million rupees was provided in the budget for the operation of the MMIL. And for the current financial year, an amount of 91 million has been provided. The MMIL does not operate on a profit-making basis. So the question of losses incurred by the MMIL does not arise. Thank you.
MMIL is a company. It produces accounts. Last accounts is produced 2021. It made a loss of 102 million rupees. Since that date, the company has not published and produced any accounts. So the taxpayer who has invested 5 billion rupees has probably incurred further losses of about 400 million rupees since that date. This is why I'm asking the Minister, in view of the report of the Director of Audit, which has criticized his oversight, why this company has not produced accounts for the last 3 years, and therefore will he give the amount of losses that have been incurred since that time? I hope I'm clear that it is a company producing accounts, and the accounts showed the last time a loss of 102 million rupees.
Monsieur le Président, comme je l'ai dit dans ma réponse, the MMIL does not operate on a profit-making basis. It is a service provider. Et dans mon introduction, j'ai expliqué la philosophie et l'objectif de Mauritius Multi-Sport Infrastructure Limited. Je crois que c'est assez clair ce que je suis en train de dire.
Clear to me. Anyway, let me, obviously I think the Minister doesn't understand what is at issue here. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask the Minister. This stadium was constructed by the government in spite of most of the other sports facilities being severely underutilized, as mentioned by the Director of Audit. Therefore, in view of the lack of revenue and therefore the losses from that stadium, will he not agree that this stadium was a total and shocking waste of public funds?
Monsieur le Président, certainement pas. Je comprends que l'honorable membre soit un peu désemparé en ce moment. Pour commencer, it is not a stadium. It is a multi-sport complex. Alors, si vous me permettez, Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi de faire, pas la leçon, mais d'expliquer à la Chambre, au public et à l'honorable membre, c'est quoi le complexe sportif de Côte-d'Or. Une piscine olympique ou de 50 mètres où les compétitions internationales peuvent et ont déjà été faites. Pas plus loin que l'année dernière, nous avons accueilli le championnat junior d'Afrique de natation. Un stade d'athlétisme approved by the International Federation of Athletics. Un terrain de football approved by FIFA et un gymnase multifonctionnel. À part de cela, Monsieur le Président, nous avons implémenté à Côte-d'Or un High Performance Center qui sert à préparer nos athlètes et aussi d'autres athlètes internationaux qui viennent pour s'entraîner ici. Je ne vais pas prendre le temps de la Chambre. Nous avions en janvier 2022 le champion olympique, médaillé d'or olympique de saut en hauteur, Gian Marco Tamberi, qui était venu faire une formation ici chez nous. L'équipe d'Angleterre qui se prépare pour les Jeux olympiques de Paris sont venus se préparer ici chez nous. Là, à l'heure que je vous parle, actuellement, du 4 au 15 mai, nous avons la double championne olympique d'heptathlon Nafitiam, qui est en stage chez nous ici à Côte-d'Or. Alors, c'est un investissement dans le sport local, c'est un investissement pour nos athlètes élites, et les résultats que nous obtenons en ce moment fait suite de leur préparation au HPC qui se trouve à Côte-d'Or. Cela n'a pas de prix.
Question sufficiently canvassed. Honorable Itu.
Thank you, Speaker. B287.
Mr. Speaker, sir, surveillance of communicable diseases is effected by the Communicable Disease Control Unit, the Public Health and Food Safety Inspectorate Unit, the Vector-Borne Control Division, and the Central Health Laboratory. So 4 units doing different tasks and different activities. With the advent of emerging and re-emerging of diseases and climate change, several outbreaks of epidemics and the recent COVID-19 pandemic, my ministry has taken various measures to review and reinforce the surveillance system to better prepare, prevent, and respond to the public health threats and emergencies. Mr. Speaker, sir, as part of the National Action Plan for Health Security 2024-2029, my ministry has been working on strengthening the Integrated Disease Surveillance and Response IDSR in collaboration with the World Health Organization to better coordinate and integrate surveillance activities by focusing on preparedness and the response function of the disease surveillance system. The aim of the IDSR is to improve surveillance and sharpen the early warning, alert, and response at all levels in the African region. It also allows for real-time data sharing and reporting while optimizing resources. Capacity building was conducted in 2023 so that the number of reporting sites for IDSR has increased from 45 in 2023 to 141 in 2024, covering all the public health care facilities. My ministry is currently working on the finalization of the 3rd guidelines of IDSR and the implementation plan 2024-2029. Mr. Speaker, sir, all officers of the public health unit of my ministry are involved in the surveillance of communicable diseases falling under the Public Health Act. The Communicable Disease Control Unit works closely with the Central Health Laboratory for detection of communicable diseases so that immediate action is taken upon notification of any confirmed case. Data from multiple sources such as regional hospitals, health records department, health statistics units, points of entry, and laboratory are triangulated and analyzed for evidence-based decision-making. In the same line, preparedness and response plans have been developed for diseases such as COVID-19, dengue, chikungunya, Zika, malaria, plague, Ebola, MERS-CoV, influenza H1N1, while plans for cholera and Marburg are in the pipeline. In addition, protocols were also developed for the surveillance of suspected case of Mpox. Mr. Speaker, sir, moreover, several action has been initiated by my ministry to strengthen surveillance in Mauritius. Firstly, in January 2024, following the outbreak of dengue in December 2023, the public health testing of infectious or communicable diseases regulations 2024 were promulgated so that any person, including any incoming passenger who is suspected to be infected with or suffering from an infectious or communicable disease will have to undergo a medical examination mandatorily as requested by the sanitary authority. Secondly, surveillance at points of entry have been reinforced through mandatory filling of the health declaration form or the digital Mauritius all-in-one travel form by all incoming passengers. Thirdly, health centers have been equipped with IT infrastructure and equipment to enable rapid transfer of surveillance data and for easy data entry. Fourthly, sharing of data on the platform of DHIS2 with the World Health Organization and the CDC Africa in very factual basis and confidential manner. In addition, the laboratory services have been provided with additional logistics, equipment, and reagents, so as the capacity of laboratory has been increased, while rapid antigen test for dengue has been procured, so as to obtain immediate result after testing. Mr. Speaker, sir, other disease surveillance for sexually transmitted infections and HIV are being strengthened in line with action plan developed respectively. My ministry is also currently working on a COVID-19 transition strategy in collaboration with World Health Organization.
Thank you, Speaker. Can Honourable Minister inform the House whether there exists at the level of his ministry a defined protocol to detect cases and to contain infectious diseases?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. In fact, all these action plans have been developed in terms of surveillance and in terms of how a patient who has been suspected or have been detected with any communicable diseases, how the public health division is going to remove this patient or to treat this patient in an isolated manner.
Next question.
B-stroke 289, please.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai été informé par la Banque de Maurice que conformément à l'article 26 de la Bank of Mauritius Act, la Banque de Maurice est tenue de préserver la confidentialité des informations relatives à ses affaires et à celles de toute autre banque ainsi qu'à leurs clients qu'elle a recueillis dans l'exercice de ses fonctions et par l'intermédiaire du conservateur. Et par conséquent, elle n'est pas en mesure de rendre publiques les informations demandées. Merci.
Next question. You're not entitled. Let me give you the process. Wait. You want an answer? You want an answer? You have to listen. No, you still question? You still question? Yeah. Okay. Now, let us smile and talk. You know what? You know what?
If you were a nice, a beautiful lady, I would have.
Yes.
But you're not.
Very good. You know what, Honourable Member? You are a seasoned politician. It is the Speaker who thinks whether it is fit and proper for a supplementary question. It's not you or your right, or any member's right, both sides. Not only for the opposition, both sides. Okay? Even one member there asked one question, and I said no supplementary at all. So let's smile and end it there. Okay, next question. You see your privilege? You see? The next question would go to
B290, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that a joint site visit was carried out at Morcellement de Sajal and its adjoining areas in Albion village on 25th April by my colleague, the Honourable Tanya Diol, private parliamentary secretary of constituency number 20, together with district councillors and other representatives of the District Council of Black River and the Municipal Council of Beaubassin-Roselle, as well as officers of the National Development Unit. The following observations were made during the site visit. Pipe-laying works were being carried out by the CWA in Morcellement de Sajal. The road excavated trenches were washed away by stormwater, thereby further damaging the road thereat. And thirdly, the roads in adjoining areas of Albion village have sustained damages. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have been informed that 6 road projects to the tune of some 23 million have been identified to be implemented by the NDU. However, some of these works will be undertaken after the CWA have completed its pipe-laying works. These projects are namely resurfacing of Avenue des Manguiers, corner Serin Avenue off Avenue des Lauriers, Albion, Avenue Dahlia, entrance of Albion Fort, part reinstatement of Avenue Tulip, Morcellement Bellevue, part reinstatement of Carp Avenue near Dodo Supermarket, part reinstatement corner Avenue Marlin and Avenue Dauphin. Mr. Speaker, I am also advised that 5 other road projects amounting to some 13 million have been identified to be carried out by the District Council of Black River. 3 of these projects are at bidding stage. They are namely Avenue Dauphin, Avenue Requin, Sans Moustache, Morcellement Chazal, Avenue Barracuda, and Corona, Frangipane, and Tulip Avenue. On the other hand, the cost estimates for the remaining 2 roads projects, namely Pointe aux Caves and Simonette Road, are being worked out by the Council, following which necessary financial clearance will be sought from the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development prior to implementation. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm further informed by the District Council of Black River that immediate remedial works such as cleaning of mud, debris, and laying of spalls and caution have already been carried out by the Council on these 5 roads. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
C'est un fait, Monsieur le Président, que les routes sur l'ensemble de la région d'Albion ont été endommagées lors des récentes inondations. De ce fait, le ministre peut-il nous dire si son ministère envisage de mettre en place un plan d'aménagement pour trouver des solutions permanentes pour toute cette région afin d'éviter d'éventuelles inondations, parce que, comme il l'a dit lui-même, à chaque pluie diluvienne, les routes sont endommagées et il faudrait qu'une fois pour toutes, on arrive à trouver une solution durable.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the honourable member will agree this is a separate question. We are now talking about drains. And the DICL House and NDU is already working on a project. I think the PPS of the region, Mrs. Honourable Joel, is doing a fantastic job regarding the other roads that hasn't been damaged that need to be looked into in a holistic manner. But for the time being, we are looking into repairing those that has been damaged. And as I said, we are working into close collaboration with the CWA. Once the pipelaying is done, with resurfacing works will start immediately. Thank you.
Next question.
B291. Sir, I'm informed that at present, the following specialized services, including emergency services, are provided in Rodrigues: general medicine, general surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, anesthesia, orthopedics, and psychiatry. In addition, services in ENT, oncology, ophthalmology, dermatology, rheumatology, neurology, and neurosurgery are also provided 2 times or more yearly, depending on the health needs of Rodrigues. Mr. Speaker, sir, patients referred from Rodrigues are categorized as follows: emergency cases requiring immediate evacuation, cases referred for investigative procedures, cases referred for treatment, cases referred for complex surgical interventions, and cases referred for reviews. With regard to the emergency evacuation of critically ill patients from Rodrigues to Mauritius, the established protocol is as follows. For any critically ill patient from Rodrigues requiring further management in Mauritius, the treating specialist makes a pre-flight assessment and stabilizes the patient as much as possible prior to transfer. A referral form is filled by the treating specialist and is endorsed by the health director for transfer. Provision is also made as far as possible to include any relative or accompanying person. The case is referred to social worker's office for booking of air tickets, filling of subsistence allowance and arrangements for hotel accommodation. A request is then made to the SAMU control room for a SAMU team, including an emergency physician and nursing officers, to proceed urgently to Rodrigues. The arrangement for transfer is, in most cases, made by commercial flight from Mauritius to Rodrigues. In exceptional cases, the services of the Commissioner of Police may be solicited for the transfer to be made via Dornier aircraft. Patient is then conveyed by the SAMU team from Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Rodrigues, to the Plaine-Corail Airport. Patient is transferred, accompanied by the SAMU team, by air to the respective regional hospital, depending on the treatment and care required. In case patient is intubated, arrangements are made with Air Mauritius for the provision of special compressed oxygen cylinder compatible with aerodynamic transfer. Upon arrival at SSR International Airport, patient is conveyed by SAMU ambulance under the care of an emergency physician and is immediately admitted to intensive care or high dependency wards, depending again on the clinical presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. May I ask the Honourable Minister what measures his ministry, together with the Regional Assembly, are being taken to prevent delay in transferring emergency patients from Rodrigues to Mauritius due to lack of equipment?
Mr. Speaker, sir, so far I haven't been informed of any issues concerning equipment. Even though if the equipment is not available in Rodrigues, the team, as I have stated in my reply, the team leaving from Mauritius to Rodrigues will accompany with them all the equipments, all the consumables required so that these patients can be transferred back to Mauritius.
Yes.
May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he is aware that there's been a delay recently to transfer emergency patients from Rodrigues to Mauritius due to lack of oxygen in Rodrigues?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is because in flight we need some special compressed oxygen cylinders that should be compatible with aerodynamic transfer. And that has a special provision made by Air Mauritius for the transfer. That is where the delay has come. And so far, if the transfer is done with this compressed oxygen, because these patients were suffering from severe injuries, and they will require these special compressed oxygen. That's where the delay has come from.
Next question.
Yes, B292.
Monsieur le Président, en 2015, la State Investment Corporation Limited a conclu un accord de co-entreprise avec EI International Investment Management Limited pour la mise en œuvre d'un projet de Smart City sous le nom de EI Investment Limited. Après avoir obtenu tous les permis et approbations nécessaires en octobre 2019, le projet a démarré juste avant l'avènement de la pandémie de la COVID-19. Par conséquent, sa mise en œuvre s'est considérablement ralentie au cours des années 2020 et 2021 en raison de la pandémie. Malgré la réouverture de l'économie mauricienne au second semestre 2021, les mesures de lutte contre la COVID-19 en Chine ont été prolongées jusqu'à la mi-2022. Cela a entraîné de nombreuses contraintes en matière de mobilité des ressources, car le promoteur était fortement tributaire des transferts en provenance de Chine, ainsi que des matériaux et de la main-d'œuvre. En outre, le marché cible de ce projet était initialement constitué d'acheteurs chinois et en raison de la COVID-19, la réponse du marché chinois a été très faible. Après la COVID-19, le promoteur a modifié l'orientation de son marché vers d'autres pays. Tous ces éléments ont entraîné un retard supplémentaire dans la mise en œuvre du projet. Enfin, depuis le dernier semestre 2022, une nouvelle équipe composée principalement d'un chef de projet, d'un contracteur et de consultants locaux a été nommée par le promoteur afin d'accélérer la mise en œuvre du projet. Monsieur le Président, En ce qui concerne la partie A1 de la question, conformément au pacte d'actionnaires, la State Investment Corporation Limited a injecté des terrains dans la joint venture représentant des capitaux propres équivalents à la valeur des terrains, soit 573,8 millions de roupies, et les terrains ont été transférés depuis 2019 de la SIC à la joint venture. La responsabilité de la State Investment Corporation Limited se limite à la cession du terrain à la joint venture et n'a pas d'autres engagements financiers. En ce qui concerne la partie A2, je suis informé que le montant des fonds investis par l'autre actionnaire, à savoir Yirai International Investment Management Limited, s'élève à 440 millions de roupies sur 598 millions de roupies, conformément au pacte d'actionnaires. À ce jour, le capital social non libéré de Yirai International Investment Management Limited s'élève à 158 millions de roupies. Monsieur le Président, pour répondre à la partie B de la question, je suis informé qu'à ce jour, la prospection pour la vente des 4 villas est en cours. Je suis également informé que sur les 29 unités d'appartements, la joint venture a déjà signé un contrat de réservation préliminaire avec 12 acheteurs et qu'un dépôt s'élevant à 5% de la valeur de la vente a déjà été effectué auprès du notaire. Merci.
Next question.
Mr. Speaker, I have supplementary question.
But you have to raise your hand.
I was waiting for you.
It's not like this.
No, no, I have...
Again, very seasoned politician. Wait. Let us enjoy talking. Very seasoned politician. This is customary. You have a question, you raise your hand for a supplementary question, then I give you la parole. No, don't worry. I know everything. Please. No, don't say too free. Put your first question. I have only one question. Put it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a very serious matter, a matter of huge public funds being involved. We are talking about 97 arpents of land previously known as Domaine Lepai, which was injected in this company since 2015. And today, after 9 years, we are being told that only 4 villas has been sold. And according to the reply given by the minister, mention is being made that the 97 arpents was valued as a capital of approximately 500 million rupees, whereas the promoter capital in the company is 440 million rupees, if I've got the right figure from the Honorable Minister. Now, so can I ask the Honorable Minister, how is it that government invested 97 arpents to the tune of 500 million rupees, which is market value today 2 billion rupees for 97 arpents? How come that government is only shareholder to 30% in joint venture, and the Chinese company is shareholder to the tune of 70% in the company, and as of today, I'm shocked to hear that only 4 villas has been sold.
Monsieur le Président, comme je l'ai dit, il y a aussi le fait qu'il y a 29 appartements, et sur les 29 appartements, il y a déjà 12 acheteurs qui ont fait un dépôt s'élevant à 5%. Pour revenir au capital, je l'ai souligné que Yirai devait mettre l'équivalent de 598 millions de roupies. Donc, ils n'ont pas libéré 158 millions de roupies jusqu'à présent. Et les 158 millions de roupies devraient être libérés dans ce joint venture. C'est l'accord, le pacte qu'il y a entre ces deux actionnaires. Le pacte a été fait de telle sorte que, à l'époque, la valeur était moindre, donc c'est pour cela que c'était à 30% et 70%. C'est le pacte qu'il y a eu entre ces deux actionnaires, et la State Investment Corporation a trouvé que c'était un bon investissement à faire.
Very specific,
On va-
straightforward clarification.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask the Honourable Minister, will he agree with me that this is a very bad deal for the SIC and for the government and for the people of Mauritius? We invested 97...
Let the minister reply. No, you finish.
Monsieur le Président, nous allons attendre à la fin des procédures pour attendre toutes les ventes, voir quelles vont être les profitabilités de ce projet par rapport à la State Investment Corporation. À ce moment-là, on pourra dire si c'est un bon deal ou non. Merci.
Next question.
B293. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I would like first of all to wish a prompt recovery to the injured player during the football match between Montgalcan SC and Grande Rivière Noire West Coast held on 27 April 2024. I'm informed by the Mauritius Football Association, MFA, that there was no medical unit at the stadium on that day, despite the requirement for every football team playing at the national level to have its own medical team amongst one of its bench officials as per MFA rules of competition. In response to this situation, I chaired a meeting with the General Secretary of the MFA, staff of my ministry, and the Director of the Mauritius Sports Council to ensure the non-recurrence of such an unfortunate situation. It was agreed upon that the MFA would henceforth ensure that the checklist of the match commissioner is put into practice and a protocol would be worked out as a matter of urgency between the MFA and the Mauritius Sports Council to better define their respective roles and responsibilities before and during football matches. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, ce qui s'est passé le 27 avril dernier au stade Germain-Comormont est carrément scandaleux. Car un joueur blessé, il est bon de le savoir, a été transporté hors du terrain sur une table en plastique. Donc, le ministre vient de nous dire qu'il a rencontré les officiels de la MFA par la suite, mais peut-on savoir si, au préalable, avant cette rencontre, s'il avait, au niveau de son ministère, si on avait émis des directives officielles aux fédérations nationales afin de s'assurer qu'une présence médicale avec des équipements appropriés soit disponible sur les sites de compétition?
Monsieur le Président, comme je l'ai dit dans ma réponse, d'après le Mauritius Football Association, chaque équipe qui participe dans un tournoi au niveau national, chaque équipe doit s'assurer d'avoir un staff, une équipe médicale sur le lieu. Et ça, c'est la responsabilité des clubs, d'après toujours les règlements des compétitions de football, d'après la MFA.
Quand il s'agit d'équipes médicales, il faudrait que le ministère des Sports fasse provision, je pense, et sollicite chaque fédération nationale de façon à ce que chaque gymnase ou stade soit doté d'équipements de premiers soins et dont une civière. De ce fait, est-ce que ce n'est pas le rôle du ministère de s'assurer, dans un premier temps, vu les réticences, les délais
we got the gist of your question. Please, Minister, please reply.
Monsieur le Président, il est très malsain de vouloir jeter la pierre sur le ministère. Non. Il est très malsain de vouloir jeter la pierre sur le ministère. Laissez-moi m'expliquer. Le stade Germain-Comormont est équipé d'une civière. Dans le stade Germain-Comormont, je le redis, il y a une civière. Il y a aussi des first aid kits qui sont disponibles au niveau du stade. Si la MFA, si les clubs qui ont eu un souci de blessés n'ont pas fait appel, n'ont pas fait la demande pour utiliser la civière ou autre équipement de premiers soins disponible au stade, cela ne peut pas être la faute du ministère.
Next question.
294.
Encore. Deuxième. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the proposed hosting of the Africa and Asia Pacific Choir Games 2025 in Mauritius, an amount of 11 million rupees was earmarked in financial year 2022-2023. For the current financial year, an amount of 11 million rupees has been earmarked. Thank you.
Speaker, I'm not asking about how much money has been this year or last year. I'm asking about the total amount. Now, I have it from documents here that the total investment, participation of government in the choir games will be to the tune of 141,823,500 rupees. Can the minister confirm that? I'm sure he must be aware of the total amount of contribution from government, surely.
Mr. Speaker, sir, if I read well the question of the honourable member, he asked me, I read again, whether in regard of the proposed hosting of the Africa and Asia Pacific Choir Games in Mauritius at Côte d'Or Stadium, he will state the amount of funds earmarked as subsidy. Funds earmarked. Pas combien cela va coûter.
Funds earmarked are 141 million rupees. I'm surprised that the minister is not on top of his file. I'm going to ask the minister. I'm going to ask the minister. I am going to ask the minister.
I don't agree.
I'm going to ask.
I'm replying.
Both. If there is anything, either on a point of order or clarification, you can raise the point.
I'm going to ask the minister, how can it be justified? I'm going to ask the minister, how can it be justified in view of the sports federation being starved of funds, that such a huge amount of money, which the minister himself is ashamed to tell us the amount, is being spent on the choir games? 141,822,500 rupees.
Monsieur le Président, comme je l'ai dit, l'honorable membre fait complètement fausse route. Et il n'est pas question que je suis on top of my file. I know well my subject. Dans le budget, une somme de l'année dernière, une somme de 11 millions avait été budgétée pour ce projet. Idem. Maintenant, ce n'est que maintenant que nous commençons à préparer et à voir quelles seront les dépenses qui viendront. Alors, on n'a rien dépensé encore par rapport à 100 millions, 200 millions, etc. Et puis, laissez-moi répondre, s'il vous plaît. Laissez-moi répondre. Alors, et l'honorable membre est en train de faire un amalgame entre les fédérations sportives, entre cette compétition de Choir Games. Écoutez, nous sommes là pour, autant que possible, avoir une variété d'activités. Il n'y a pas que le sport. Il y a aussi des compétitions internationales comme le Choir Games. Il y a d'autres compétitions. Il y a des compétitions locales qui, par exemple, à la fin de juin, il y aura une compétition de a cappella, une compétition de street dance. C'est un ministère varié pour les jeunes, les moins jeunes, les adultes, les senior citizens. Et il y va de soi que l'État, que le gouvernement, que notre Premier ministre nous donne le loisir d'investir pour toute la population et pour toutes les catégories de personnes de la République de Maurice.
Next question.
P296.
Three in a row. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Youth Empowerment section of my ministry caters for a specific program targeted towards empowerment of young people aged between 14 to 25 years. The sports section, voilà la variété, the sports section of my ministry develops programs in the field of sports and mostly high-level sports. Since November 2019, my ministry was entrusted with a new responsibility for recreation. And this new sector provided an opportunity to realign the strategic objectives and programs of my ministry into a coherent manner to offer programs to all the population of the Republic of Mauritius. Recreation enables us to create a link between the youth empowerment and the sports section and to cater for activities for the enhancement of physical, social, and mental well-being of all individuals as well as vulnerable persons. The House may wish to note that my ministry, as well as the Mauritius Sports Council and the Mauritius Recreation Council, are fully engaged in offering activities and incentives to facilitate sports and recreational activities for vulnerable persons. My ministry organizes programs at national level for vulnerable youth. These programs include Special Youth Outreach Program, Carrefour des Jeunes, Duke of Edinburgh's Award Program for Youth in Special Education Needs, Promotion de la Boxe Éducative, and the National Youth Civic Service Training for all young people, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, in addition to the youth empowerment programs, the Mauritius Recreation Council, which is the organization responsible for the promotion and organization of recreational activities for all, organizes major activities in the different outdoor education and recreation centers. Disabled persons had also the opportunity to enjoy water sports activities that are being carried out. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I'm tabling a list of activities organized for all, including vulnerable youth, by my ministry and by the councils operating under the aegis of my ministry.
Yes, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'honorable ministre peut-il nous informer des moyens de communication à travers lesquels les différents groupes dont il a fait mention sont informés des différentes activités sportives ou récréatives mises à leur disposition?
Alors, Monsieur le Président, il y a tout d'abord un travail de terrain qui est fait par les officiers du cadre jeunesse de mon ministère, par les différents coachs sous le département des sports du ministère, par les différents animateurs du Mauritius Sports Council, par les animateurs du National Youth Council, par les animateurs du Mauritius Recreation Council, qui sont en contact direct avec la population, mais surtout avec les jeunes vivant des conditions difficiles. Et puis, bien sûr, tous nos programmes sont disponibles sur les différents réseaux sociaux et les plateformes digitales.
Next question.
B297.
Monsieur le Président, un protocole modifiant la Double Taxation Avoidance Convention, dite DTAC, entre Maurice et l'Inde a été signé le 7 mars 2024, mais n'a pas encore été ratifié et n'est donc pas entré en vigueur. L'objectif du protocole est de rendre la DTAC conforme aux normes minimales de l'OCDE en matière d'érosion et de la base d'imposition et de transfert de bénéfices, appelée BEPS. À la lumière des défis sans cesse croissants auxquels est confronté le secteur du global business, le gouvernement s'est engagé à assurer la conformité avec les meilleures normes et standards internationaux. Comme le sait l'honorable membre, pour être considéré comme coopératif à des fins fiscales par l'Union européenne et l'OCDE, les pays sont évalués sur la base de 3 critères, à savoir la transparence fiscale, l'imposition équitable et les mesures anti-BEPS. Depuis 2017, Maurice a apporté plusieurs réformes d'envergure pour s'assurer que nos régimes de taxation, incluant ceux s'appliquant au secteur des services financiers, soient conformes à ces 3 critères. Au regard du BEPS, les juridictions sont tenues de s'engager à mettre en œuvre les normes minimales anti-BEPS de l'OCDE qui concernent les pratiques fiscales dommageables, la déclaration pays par pays, la résolution des différends et le chalandage fiscal. La norme minimale relative au chalandage fiscal exige des juridictions qu'elles incluent 2 éléments dans leurs traités fiscaux, à savoir une déclaration explicite sur la non-double imposition et l'une des 3 méthodes permettant de remédier au chalandage fiscal. Les conventions fiscales conclues par un pays peuvent être modifiées collectivement par le biais d'une convention connue sous le nom de MLI, Multilateral Instrument, ou individuellement par le biais de négociations bilatérales. Maurice a signé le MLI le 5 juillet 2017. À la suite de consultations avec les parties prenantes concernées du secteur des services financiers, tant publics que privés, Maurice n'a pas inclus la DTAC Maurice Inde dans le champ d'application de la MLI, mais a plutôt décidé de mener des négociations bilatérales avec l'Inde. Monsieur le Président, la DTAC Maurice Inde est entrée en vigueur en juin 1985 et a été modifiée par un premier protocole le 19 juillet 2016. L'une des principales modifications consistait à conférer à l'Inde les droits d'imposition sur les gains provenant de la vente d'actions acquises par une société mauricienne dans une société résidente indienne. Toutefois, une disposition transitoire a été convenue pour les actions acquises avant avril 2017, en vertu de laquelle le droit d'imposition de Maurice a été retenu. Des négociations visant à rendre la DTAC Maurice Inde conforme aux normes minimales BEPS de l'OCDE ont été menées et conclues en mars 2022. Le protocole signé le 7 mars 2024 comprend des dispositions similaires à celles adoptées dans l'IML. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne la partie A de la question, comme je l'ai expliqué, avec l'adoption de normes minimales du BEPS par les différents pays, il n'y aura pas d'impact important sur notre secteur en raison de nouvelles conditions de concurrence équitable au niveau international. Le MLI a déjà introduit ces normes dans 21 de nos traités fiscaux. De même, de nombreux autres centres financiers internationaux, tels que le Luxembourg, les Émirats arabes unis, Singapour et Chypre, ont déjà intégré les normes minimales du BEPS dans leur convention fiscale avec l'Inde. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne la partie B de la question, je souhaite souligner que tant que le protocole n'est pas ratifié par les 2 gouvernements, les discussions restent confidentielles et qu'à ce stade, il est difficile de divulguer les informations spécifiques aux parties prenantes. Nous avons donc l'intention de poursuivre les discussions avec le gouvernement indien afin de clarifier la portée et le calendrier des modifications apportées à la DTAC pour se conformer aux normes minimales du BEPS de l'OCDE. Soyez assurés que nous continuerons de fournir aux investisseurs étrangers la certitude et une stabilité qui ont fait la réussite de Maurice comme centre financier international. Merci.
The Honourable Minister of Finance just mentioned BEPS and European Union. Is the Honourable Minister aware that after the OECD published its recommendation for BEPS, there was a case in the European Union, Court of Justice, and the European Commission, as far back as 2016, has recommended that its member states modifies the principal purpose test to exclude cases which reflects, and I quote, a genuine economic activity. So my question to the Honourable Minister of Finance is, why is it that in the protocol we have not carved out genuine economic activities from the purview of that article, as recommended by the European Union?
Monsieur le Président, on est en train de parler d'une négociation entre Maurice et l'Inde actuellement. On est en train de négocier, comme je l'ai dit, de discuter avec l'Inde par rapport à la DTAC. Donc, pour revenir à l'accord avec l'Union européenne, cela a été déjà fait L'Union européenne a fixé les règles, l'OCDE a fixé les règles. Nous sommes en train maintenant de négocier, de discuter bilatéralement avec l'Inde. On avait exclu l'accord Maurice-Inde de l'accord MLI. Donc c'est pour cela qu'on continue de travailler directement avec l'Inde.
But it's specific.
Yes,
to
very
India,
specific.
Mauritius and India.
Yes, the treaty between Mauritius and India, the coming into force of this protocol is causing a lot of concern amongst global business companies because the protocol provides that it is going to come into effect irrespective of the date the tax arrives or the assessment year. So effectively, this protocol will have retrospective effect. So may I ask from the Honourable Minister of Finance to reassure the global business sector that this protocol is forward-looking and will not apply to any retrospectively to past transactions.
So this is the request.
Monsieur le Président, nous sommes, c'est pour cela que j'ai dit depuis le départ que ce sont des discussions avec les autorités indiennes qui sont confidentielles. Bien sûr qu'on est en train de voir toutes les implications sur le secteur global. En tant que ministre des Finances, je n'ai pas envie de me retrouver avec un secteur global qui se retrouve affaibli. Donc nous sommes en train de travailler dessus. Nous sommes en train de voir d'un côté le respect des normes et des standards internationaux et de l'autre côté, comme on peut discuter directement avec l'Inde, on est en train de discuter directement avec l'Inde pour préserver les atouts de ce secteur. Donc oui, on fera en sorte qu'on puisse maintenir cette compétitivité et préserver le secteur global.
Next question.
B298.
298. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that online classes are delivered to students on Microsoft Teams and other platforms as deemed appropriate by educators. The Student Support Portal is a digital repository of lessons for students of grades 7 to 9 on their based on their respective syllabuses. Students can accede to these lessons anytime and anywhere on the https://ssp.moemu.org/. For the primary sector, remote teaching is done through lessons broadcast on the Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation TV for the benefit of students. The videos, which are currently being broadcast during temporary school closures, were last provided to the MBC in December 2023 and are based on the National Curriculum Framework. As for updating the content, it's not required since the curriculum has not been reviewed. Further, all video lessons are vetted and approved by pedagogical inspectors of my ministry prior to their broadcast.
Merci. La ministre est-elle au courant que le 22 avril dernier, les cours diffusés à la MBC ont été les mêmes que ceux diffusés l'avant-dernière fois et que cela a causé une confusion énorme parmi les étudiants et les parents?
Monsieur le Président, je présume que nous sommes tous là très conscients du fait qu'à chaque fois qu'il y a la fermeture des écoles due au mauvais temps, les enseignants et l'inspectorat fait de sorte à ce que les sujets et les thèmes sont disponibles au niveau de la MBC à travers les vidéos. Mais seulement, on est tous aussi conscients que différentes écoles ont différents pace of learning. Et de ce fait, c'est assez difficile pour qu'on puisse servir les cours d'après les besoins de chaque école. Nous avons 257 écoles primaires. Et forcément, ils ne peuvent pas tous être au même niveau. Et très souvent, il y a besoin, après une session, de revenir sur la session. Dans l'enseignement, on parle toujours de récapitulation. Et cela se fait.
Merci. La ministre est-elle au courant qu'il y avait également, le 22 avril, une confusion concernant les horaires de ces cours et qu'il est nécessaire de mettre en place un moyen de communication efficace envers ceux concernés?
Monsieur le Président, Nous avons déjà un calendrier qui est établi et la MDC agit et donne les informations en temps voulu. Mais je peux aussi comprendre que si un beau matin, à 4 heures du matin, on apprend qu'il y aura fermeture des écoles, qu'on fait le maximum pour assurer qu'il y a continuité et que les élèves restent connectés aux enseignants et à l'école et aux études. Mais bien sûr, ce n'est pas l'idéal, nous sommes tous conscients de cela, mais c'est important d'assurer une continuité et que les élèves soient en train de suivre les cours. Bien sûr, une fois de retour à l'école, les enseignants feront le nécessaire.
Next question.
B/299, please. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the United States circulated a draft resolution in December 2023 on the overarching principles that should govern digital technologies and the development of artificial intelligence. The US draft resolution was the subject of intense discussions and negotiations. Agreement on the final draft was reached only shortly before action was taken at the General Assembly on the 21st of March of this year. So therefore, on that date of 21st of March 2024, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the revised resolution proposed by the United States entitled Seizing the Opportunities of Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy Artificial Intelligence Systems for Sustainable Development. The reference being A/RES/78/265. The said resolution with regard to part A of the question, Mr. Speaker, sir, the said resolution was adopted by consensus. Therefore, there was no vote. As regards part B of the question, I am not aware of any direct bilateral dialogue on the specific subject aiming to manage the risk and safety challenges posed by advanced forms of AI, unquote. However, I am informed that our mission in Washington, D.C. participated in a panel discussion on artificial intelligence organized by the United States State Department with U.S. government officials and private sector representatives on 6th of March of this year to discuss various uses of AI and how it presented both opportunities and challenges for the international community. At that meeting, the United States side also informed about the UN draft resolution that was then under preparation. I can also inform the House that the United States State Department conducted a briefing for a select group of African countries, including Mauritius, on 20th December 2023 on awareness of the growing cybersecurity threats and challenges. Mr. Speaker, sir, I can also inform the House that discussions are ongoing in various bodies of the United Nations, such as the General Assembly, the Human Rights Council, the International Telecommunications Union, on the multiple aspects of artificial intelligence, and my ministry is closely following developments along with the Ministry of Information Technology, Communication, and Innovation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next question.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Medical Council of Mauritius that there are presently 89 candidates awaiting the next medical registration examinations. I'm further informed that out of the 89 candidates, 51 candidates have already attempted the examinations once or more than once. Of the 51 candidates, 8 candidates had 1 attempt, 11 candidates had 2 attempts, 28 candidates had 3 attempts, 2 candidates had 5 attempts, 1 candidate had 6 attempts, and 1 candidate had 10 attempts. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the period September 2023 to date, 38 new applications for registration and participation in medical registration examinations were received by the Medical Council. Of the 38 applications, 4 applications were received in November 2023, 3 applications were received in December 2023, 25 applications were received in February 2024, 4 applications were received in March 2024, and 2 applications were received in May 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that the last examinations were held on 6 September 2023. It is anticipated that the next medical registration examinations would be held in July-August 2024, following signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with the National Board of Examinations, India.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, a trainee doctor or trainee doctors have to wait up to 1 year to participate in the exams. Will you consider to request the Medical Council to carry out the exams on a quarterly basis, or simply review the methodology by conducting the exams immediately after the internship?
Mr. Speaker, sir, this examination, as per the provision of the Medical Council Act, there should be an examination to be done. And the Medical Council hasn't the capacity to do the examination locally. And at the same time, this examination is being held since 2013. At the time, the Minister of Health has introduced this examination. It has been done perfectly with this Board of Examination. And I don't think, personally, I don't think that we have to change this rule of the game. We have to continue carry on this examination with the same examination body. Now, at the same time, as I said earlier, the applications being received throughout the year in different months. And it won't be possible for the medical registration exam, that is the examination from India, to conduct the examination as soon as possible. There is the cost implication. There is also the availability of this examination board to conduct the examination. So this time, why they have to be waited for 1 year? Just briefly to mention that once the MOU was expired in September 2023, and from this time, the ministry has been engaging for the examination and looking for different clearances from Medical Council itself, from the Mauritius Examination Syndicate, from Dental Council, from the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, and also, what is most important, the ministry is still waiting the final approval from the Ministry of Health and Welfare, India, and the bilateral clearance from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration. So we need to have all these clearances before conducting the examination. I understand that these candidates who are awaiting the examination, they need to do it as early as possible. Totally agreeable, Honourable Member, on this point. But trying to do everything that this examination, we can do it earliest in July or August.
Next question.
B301.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that whenever an inpatient is referred from Rodrigues to Mauritius, further, the following established procedure is followed. The treating specialist and the nursing administrator from Rodrigues liaise with their respective counterparts from the concerned regional hospital. The clinical presentation and any other pertinent details of the patient to be transferred are discussed. A referral form is filled in by the treating specialist and is approved by the health director for the transfer. The case is referred to the social worker's office for booking of air tickets. Depending on the condition and requirements of the patient, a medical doctor or nursing officer is delegated to accompany the patient. Arrangement is made for the provision of an ambulance for the patient upon arrival to Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, the accompanying medical or nursing officer has to perform a proper handing over to the medical and health officer of the casualty unit to ensure that all relevant clinical information have been provided in respect of the patient. The referred patients are then reviewed by the medical and health officer prior to admission, depending on availability of beds, preliminary investigations required, and clinical presentation arrangements are made accordingly for the admission to respective wards.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. May I ask the Honourable Minister why the handing over are not done when, especially when the patient from Mauritius are referred from specialist to specialist? Why are they not done in the ward instead?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. So one is this patient has to be registered at the records office of the accident and emergency. Two, a patient being transferred from the time of transfer, that is from the time of leaving the hospital in Rodrigues to the time with the flight time and so on, but by the time the patient reaches Mauritius. So it's very important to do a review, a reassessment of this patient at the accident and emergency. Otherwise, it has happened in some cases where patients have been transferred into a ward and there are other issues that have come up because it may take 3 to 4, 5 hours between the last time this patient was examined by the doctor. So we need to fast-track this part. This is, and we have to understand that these patients, after a flight, we need to fast-track the cases, but at one point of time, we have to understand also it's not possible to reserve beds for these patients. So patients undergoing the procedures being done at the accident and emergency level. So it means that these patients, at this point of time, after they have reached the accident and emergency department of any hospital, at that time, the records officer may give the exact ward where this patient can be admitted.
Go ahead.
And the Honourable Minister informed the House whether he will be able to establish a fast-track system, not only for patients from Rodrigues to Mauritius, but also from patients in mainland island from hospital to hospital when being referred by specialists.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I think especially for critical patients, we need to establish the fast-track basis. So that will be considered. Thank you.
Next question.
Yes, B302, and I will have supplementary question.
This is not the way. This is not the way. Remember, you spoke against me. Remember. Go and see yourself in the video.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
And our friend Kuman there.
I wish to inform the House that at the level of the zones, there are officers of the procurement and supply cadre, technical officers, as well as inspectors of works who have the responsibility to ensure effective and timely implementation of procurement exercises and contract management, respectively, as per guidelines issued by the Ministry. Regular meetings are held by the Chief Technical Officer of the Ministry with zonal directorates, during which issues pertaining to procurement and implementation of projects are also considered. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to major contracts such as infrastructural works, the Infrastructure Management Unit of my ministry, together with technical staff from the Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development, carry out site visits. Project monitoring meetings are held on a monthly basis under the chair of the Permanent Secretary of the Infrastructure Management Unit of my ministry. Cluster meetings are also held at the MNICD on a monthly basis to discuss issues identified during site visits, to follow up on progress of works, and to ensure timely completion of these projects. A dashboard has now been devised at the level of the Ministry to monitor infrastructural projects. I wish to draw the attention of the House that the MNICD also has a dashboard monitoring all government projects, including those of my ministry. As for the services, such as watch and security services in schools, supply of enhanced meals and hot meals for ZEP schools, monitoring is carried out by the procurement section of my ministry in conjunction with zonal directorates.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Procurement and supplies management by the CSD of the Ministry of Education has been criticized by the Director of Audit in his last audit report. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister, why is it that bids which were cancelled in the financial years 2021-22 and 2022-23 were not even finalized in 2023?
Mr. Speaker, sir, for all these bid documents, we have to go back to the MNICD, and it is there that the bid documents are reproduced, reviewed and all. So we have to wait, and with the number of projects being carried out by the MNICD, we often have to wait for quite some time.
Speaker, state secondary schools, according to the audit report, have not received any supply of chemicals for both biology and chemistry laboratories for more than 3 years. So therefore, and in the absence of fresh chemicals, according to the audit report, expired non-hazardous chemicals were being used in school for practical classes and laboratory. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister if she is aware of the situation and what has been done to remedy the situation?
Mr. Speaker, sir, may I remind the House that for almost a full year, the school was not run, and some of the products were in fact expired. However, actions were taken by the different departments to make sure that the supplies are renewed, and we have them. It's not really true to say that they had to use expired products. The audit report is made by, it depends on the fact that people go and see what is on the shelf. Now, there has been some of the expired products which were left on the shelf. As soon as the ministry became aware of it, actions were taken to get all these removed.
Next question. B303.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in my reply to the private notice question of 23rd April 2024, I highlighted that my ministry had set up an independent committee to investigate into the whole matter regarding the incident which occurred at Tangwa on the 21st April 2024, following which a house had collapsed and affecting 2 adjoining houses. Currently, the investigation is ongoing, and it is premature at this stage for me to give any detail thereon. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That was 2 weeks ago. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether, in regard to the collapsed properties, he will confirm to whether not only there was an email from me, which the leader of opposition had tabled, dated 15th of March, but in fact there was a letter from the very contractor that is implementing the works, EDCC Limited, which had itself notified the NDU in a letter dated 1st of April 2024, that the increase in water level in the channel, that is Wisojipus, will inevitably cause the poor fill material to be washed off and thus endanger the stability of these properties, which eventually happened on the 21st of April 2024, and which I'm going to table the letter for the attention of the Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, but come back to the same thing. There is an inquiry going on, and we have, I know the opposition might think otherwise, but I have very competent public servant working at the ministry, and for which we have a lot of respect, just like for the acting clerk, for which we have a lot of respect. So let my public servant, my officers work, let them do their work. They will come back, they will come with a report, and then we'll table eventually. Thank you.
Short question, specific clarification.
Thank you. So, can I ask the Honourable Minister whether the same officers that he's referring to, I was once an officer of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, will themselves inquire on themselves, being given that the letter has clearly specified that they were notified of the dangers? Can the Honourable Minister state to the House whether this is proper?
Mr. Speaker, sir, before asking the question proper, let me answer whether what's not the Honourable Member judging without even knowing. So, the investigation team is being led by an engineer from the RDA, the Deputy GM of the RDA, which got nothing to do with NDU. And in that team, you have other engineers that form part of the M&I department. We have two ministries, one the NDU, the other one is the national infrastructure. So it's the national infrastructure that's making the inquiry.
Thank you. So next question.
B304.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the Education Directorate of Zone 2 of my ministry received copies of 2 letters dated 19th February 2024 from inhabitants of Cornell Street at Berkeley, addressed to the National Development Unit and to the Land Drainage Authority. In their letters, inhabitants requested, amongst others, for the pulling down of the remaining wall at Cornell Street and the reconstruction of a new one. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that following the passage of Cyclone Bilal on the 15th January 2024, part of the boundary wall delimiting a plot of land vested in my ministry collapsed. And on 19th January 2024, a site visit was carried out by officers of my ministry and representatives of the Municipal Council of Bobassa-Rosil. As an immediate measure, my ministry has, on the 20th January 2024, carried out the pulling down and carting away of the stretch of collapsed wall. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards Part B of the question, I am informed that a site visit led by the Municipal Council of Bobassa-Rosil was carried out on the 6th February 2024. Representatives of my ministry attended the site visit, and I am informed that representatives of Force Vives of Berkeley were also present. As for Part C of the question, I am informed that the Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development on the 4th March 2024 carried out a structural investigation of the boundary wall at Cornell Street and subsequently has proposed the following works: careful and partial demolition of the existing boundary wall up to a height of 300 millimeters above the ground, provision of new supporting pillars at intervals of 2.5 to 3 meters along the existing wall, and the fixing of chain link fencing to prevent intrusion. My ministry has already conveyed approval to the Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development for works to be implemented under its framework agreement. I'm informed that the works are expected to start in mid-June 2024 and will end by September 2024.
Le Président, l'honorable ministre, n'est pas sans savoir que l'écroulement partiel de ce mur cause un énorme problème aux habitants de la rue Corneille à Berkeley. Et lors des pluies torrentielles du 22 avril dernier, toutes les maisons s'y trouvant ont été à nouveau inondées. Je viens d'écouter l'honorable ministre qui nous a fait part d'un plan de travail qui sera implémenté à partir de quand nous ne le savons pas. Ce que je demande à la ministre...
Sorry, I just mentioned, Mr. Speaker, sir, mid-June and will end in September 2024.
Je n'avais pas pris note de ce fait. Donc, peut-on savoir, Madame la ministre, si les habitants de cette rue ont été informés de ce plan de travail ou par votre ministère, bien sûr, ou par le ministère des Infrastructures publiques? Est-ce qu'ils ont été informés? Est-ce qu'il y a eu un comité de coordination qui a été mis sur place?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Education was concerned because the boundary wall had in fact collapsed. And on the site visit, in presence of the Force Vive, and a site visit led by the Municipal Council of Bobassa-Rosil, we understood that there is a need to remove. In fact, we had already removed all the demolished walls. What we were asked to do, we took the advice of the MNI-CD, and we were told that we need to pull down the wall up to a level of 300 millimeters from the ground and to add pillars, support pillars, and fence the area. And this is being done. I've just given the dates. Now, it is for the Municipal Council of the Bassin-Rosil to liaise with the inhabitants. We have informed the authorities, and this is what is being done.
Une dernière question. Doit-on déduire que, je ne le souhaite pas, mais si entre-temps, avant le début des travaux, des pluies diluviennes reviennent et qu'il y a une inondation à nouveau, est-ce que ces habitants de cette rue-là auront à subir une fois encore comment dirais-je, tout ce calvaire qu'ils subissent depuis janvier? Oui.
Monsieur le Président, je voudrais demander à l'honorable membre quelle serait la solution. Parce que nous avons pris... Je n'ai pas terminé. Nous avons pris les mesures qu'il fallait. Nous avons pris l'avis des ingénieurs du ministère des Infrastructures publiques. Et nous avons déjà octroyé, enfin on a déjà donné l'aval au ministère pour que les contracteurs, sous le Framework Agreement, fassent le travail. Bien sûr, il y a quand même la prise du site qu'il nous faut prendre en considération et débuter les travaux. Il faut quand même leur donner ce temps-là. S'il y a des pluies diluviennes d'ici demain, mais cela peut se produire n'importe où, est-ce qu'on va demander à chaque personne habitant une région de trouver des solutions parce qu'il y a des inondations? Ce que nous sommes en train de faire, nous autres, nous avons pris connaissance de l'état des lieux et nous sommes maintenant en train de prendre les actions qui sont demandées.
Next question.
B305. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I would reply to PQ B305. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Land Drainage Authority that 306 flood-prone areas and 58 high-risk flood-prone areas have been identified in Mauritius. I'm also informed that no survey has been carried out so far with regard to the number of residential houses found in the flood-prone areas or high-risk flood-prone areas which are not fit for dwelling. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the identification of flood-prone areas started upon the setting up of the LDA in 2017. At that time, many of the houses in the flood-prone areas had already been constructed. On the other hand, government has initiated flood mitigation measures by implementing several major drain projects in high-risk flood-prone areas, some of which have already been completed, such as those at Fond-du-Sac, Cottage, amongst others. As per LDA, there are 1,742 projects earmarked under the National Flood Management Program for a duration of 3 financial years, for a total budget of 11.7 billion rupees to be implemented by the National Development Unit, Road Development Authority, Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited, and the local authorities. As at the end of April 2024, 544 drain projects have been successfully completed for a total value of 3.68 billion rupees. The status of the remaining projects is as follows: 923 at design stage, 108 at construction stage, 150 at tender stage, and 17 at land acquisition stage. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards to part B of the question, I'm proposing to set up a technical committee with different stakeholders to look into the relocation and compensation, if any. I wish to add that following the torrential rainfall event of the 21st of April 2024, with regard to relocation of vulnerable families whose houses have been found to be unfit for use as dwelling, my ministry has been informed by the LDA that relocation of families have been recommended so far, namely at downstream at Moseyerlin Avenue. At Labit, 4 houses are concerned. the region of Trengba along Richard Jupus, 7 houses are concerned. In this context, the LDA has written to the Municipal City Council of Port Louis on the 29th of April 2024 to initiate necessary action in consultation with the relevant authorities for the relocation of these 11 families as their houses are exposed to the risk of severe inundation and structural damage. Mr. Speaker, sir, I chaired a meeting personally on the 30th of April 2024 at the level of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Center with relevant stakeholders, including Geotechnical Unit, National Development Unit of the Ministry of National Infrastructure and Community Development, Valuation Department of the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning, a Special Mobile Force, Municipal Council of Port Louis, LDA, the Mauritius Police Force, and the Ministry of Social Security, Social Integration, Social Security, and National Solidarity in relation to these vulnerable houses. The following decisions were reached. The Municipal City Council of Port Louis would issue notice to the concerned family to vacate the affected houses immediately. B, Valuation Department would work out rental value for the affected families. C, the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning and the MNICD would conduct land and structure evaluation respectively. Consideration would be given to pay a rental allowance for a maximum of 2 years, and Geotechnical Unit and National Infrastructure Division of the MNICD, National Development Unit, Land Drainage Authority, and the Mauritius City Council of Port Louis, under the lead of the National Disaster Reduction Management Center, would conduct a site visit urgently for remedial action. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to assure the House that we are following the matter closely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I'm a little bit confused by the answer of the Honourable Vice Prime Minister, because in the same answer he said that there is no survey that has been carried out to identify the number of dwelling houses in flood-prone areas, which is at risk. And in the same answer he said that there are 4 houses in La Butte and 7 houses along Ruisseau du Pouce. So is the Honourable Vice Prime Minister telling the House today that there are only 11 houses today that are at risk if tomorrow there is a flooding to be unfit for habilitation?
Mr. Speaker, sir, what I meant is that I mentioned it at the very beginning. There are 306 flood-prone areas and 58 high-risk flood-prone areas identified in Mauritius. We have not gone to all these places to identify high-risk houses. We have not done that yet. That's what I meant. But after the flood recently, we have identified those like Trengba and Mea Barthelemy. We have identified these houses. But we have not done a survey across the island. That's what I meant.
Vice Prime Minister mentioned a technical committee that has been set up and the recommendation made to pay the rental for these 11 houses. So may I know from the Honourable Vice Prime Minister, when will this measure be implemented?
We are still in discussion with different householders, Mr. Speaker, sir. Some of them actually, even the houses, we feel that the houses are severely affected. Some of them doesn't want to move. Some of them have gone to the family or staying in different places. So a lot of discussion is still going on, Mr. Speaker.
B306, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that on the 29th November 2023, 4 works orders amounting to some 70 million rupees, inclusive of VAT, were issued under the framework agreement of the Road Development Authority to Gamma Construction Limited to undertake the drain works of a stretch of 800 meters along Old Moka Road up to Rivière Sèche located near the MCB building. The scope of work comprises the construction of, firstly, drains of 2 meters wide and 1.5 meters deep from Saint-Jean A8 Road crossing A1 along motorway M1 up to Rivière Sèche. Secondly, drains of width of 2 meters width and a depth of 2 meters from the crossing of A1 to connect to the motorway M1 along the green area. Thirdly, buried drain of width 2 meters with depth 2 meters from the retaining structure to the crossing of A1 and a raised retaining wall along Old Moka Road. Mr. Speaker, sir, the honourable member will appreciate that Saint-Jean is a densely populated area with an extensive network of buried services in that region. Accordingly, appropriate measures have been taken to prevent any inconvenience pertaining to existing services to inhabitants thereat. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that trial pits were carried out to identify underground services prior to starting of drain works. Consequently, the relocation of the following services would need to be carried out: CWA water line, MTEL lines, telecom lines, Mauritius telecom lines, Silby services. Moreover, sewer lines have to be realigned. As at date, the relocation of MTEL line has been completed, while that of the CWA is ongoing. The proposed diversion scheme with regard to the realignment of the sewer line is under consideration by the Wastewater Management Authority. The relocation of the Mauritius Telecom and CB services are expected to start end of May 2024, once the necessary clearances are obtained from the remaining service providers. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to highlight that the relocation works are major in nature and time-consuming as well. In this respect, the NDU is also working into the possibility of diverting the excess water accumulation at Old Moka Road into Rivière Cesse through a temporary swale or drain system in the event that the project would not be completed by the next rainy season. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm further informed that the precasting of drains are being done currently on the premises of the contractor, and the drain works are expected to start on site in July 2024 for a completion of January 2025. Yeah. It is noteworthy that the construction of the wall at Saint-Jean Cemetery has already been completed by the National Infrastructure Division and has proven to be effective during the heavy rainfall of the 21st April 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Surely appreciate that the accumulation of water does cause the drains to overflow in Belrose, considerably flooding the houses, so it's very urgent. Now, January 2025 is right in the middle of the next rainy season with cyclones, etc., from November. So what is being proposed in terms of temporary arrangements? And when will these be completed?
This is what I said. We have, at the level of the NDU, we have already worked on a plan B in case we have more delays happening here. So there will be a swale that will be digged to take the water further down up to Rivière Cesse. So I'll maybe if the ex-leader of the opposition want to have a private meeting, we can cause and explain to you.
So, time.
Just one question.
Yes. Specific. Clarify.
January 2025 is right in the middle of the next rainy season. So isn't it urgent that temporary measures are taken to deal with the situation before the next cyclone season?
Obviously, Mr. Speaker, sir, the work are supposed to start in July this year. We are starting. If, when we come to July, which is right in the middle of the winter season, and we forecast that we won't be able to complete by November and December, we'll immediately activate the Plan B.
The table has been advised that PQB 308, 311, 312, 313, 314 have been withdrawn. Time over.
Motion.
Motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Aye. Ayes have it.
Ministers none. Public bills first reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the merchant shipping
Liability and Compensation for All Pollution Damage, Bill number 2 of 2024, be read the first time.
Seconded. Resumption of debate.
Public Bill, second reading.
Honorable Leopold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, by looking at the context of this bill, the Environment Bill, I can tell that the officials and the Honorable Minister Ramanu have worked tirelessly to bring forward all the requirements that our country needed to tackle all the environmental issues in a holistic approach of what our country can face. That is, for example, threat to our biodiversity, threat to our air and water quality, deviation to our sustainable trajectory. This bill, therefore, is packed with positive measures which will enable government and other partners to have the requisites to act and addressing challenges. This comprehensive bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, will require us to debate on it passionately because it is dealing with the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we consume, the ecosystem we live, where we are all interdependent on. That is, plants and animals, which are very important for the maintenance of a balanced environment. This bill is about our health, our well-being, and of our existence. This bill provides for mainstreaming of sustainable development and integration. This provision will give government and other stakeholders the required framework to include all relevant environmental issues into government development planning. In this present time we are living with climate uncertainty, and we are experiencing, as frequent as one will imagine, adverse weather conditions. Therefore, it is high time that our Republic has its sustainable agenda regarding climate change issues, as established by the United Nations, for reviewing and formulating pragmatic proposals to deal with environment and development issues. What is happening in our country recently, that is unpredictable weather conditions, more specifically torrential rain and flash flood, we all know who the ones are who are more prone to ecological catastrophes. Therefore, it is high time for the government to come with such an important policy which will always meet the needs of this present generation, but having the obligation to give future generation all the chances and means to meet their own needs. This is what mainstreaming of sustainable development is all about. It is about setting long-term goals for present and future generation to meet their basic needs and maintain the opportunity throughout for the fulfillment of one and all for a better life. Environmental mainstreaming through this bill will allow government to identify development challenges, including emergency climate change challenges, so that an integrated response be developed. The tackling of environmental issues by this bill has a direct impact on our health. Taking one example of environmental issue such as pollution, the effect of pollution on public health is a major factor in shaping this environment law. It is a law which is made to preserve life and maintain good health, And this can only be achieved through sustainable development to reduce the prevalence of debilitating communicable and non-communicable diseases, including emerging and re-emerging diseases. It is predicted by the United Nations that human race will need 3 times the resources on planet Earth to sustain life by 2050. In line with this prediction, mainstreaming of sustainable development will be of most importance. That's what makes this bill so important and complex at the same time, but comprehensive and proactive. There is no doubt that this bill will enhance the integration of environment, social, and economic aspects of development to improve healthcare, and this can be achieved by taking necessary measures through strategies and better framework to reduce environmental impact, such as pollution on public health. New strategies need to be developed to reduce preventable disaster and to improve community health in the wake of climate emergency. Sustainability in public health also involves improving accessibility to healthcare and reducing inequality to ensure healthier future. Further importance of sustainability in healthcare is that of circular economy, which has clearly been defined in this bill, which has a positive impact on enhancing a healthy ecosystem by radically reduce waste, which is very important in the prevention of diseases. Sustainability in healthcare may also mitigate health risks for environmental threats such as water pollution, air pollution, improper disposal of hazardous medical waste. Mitigate health risk from environment threats through sustainability in public health can also prevent the occurrence of mass casualty events by taking measures to reduce the risk of extreme weather. Mr. Speaker, sir, mainstream of environmental sustainability also bring awareness in advocating for social equality and welfare, improving medical knowledge, thus enable the improvement of public health disparities to the more vulnerable to illnesses and diseases, and preventing the spread of diseases which may impact the overall community health. All what I'm trying to point out is that this bill, through its sustainable framework, will make significant important changes by its holistic integration of social, economic, and environmental consideration in all aspects of short-term and long-term development, which will in turn bring an effective healthcare service. The establishment of an Observatoire de l'Environnement and the introduction of a mechanism to ensure better management and protection of environmentally sensitive areas give this bill all its importance. We are more and more witnessing catastrophic effects of flash flood in our capital city. This mechanism will help policymakers and the population at large to understand the negative effects on environment and urban spaces, on the trend toward urbanization, its poor management standard, and construction of urban neighborhood. Through research by evidence, human has been identified as the #1 cause of environment degradation, to the point that future generation means of survival will be compromise. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Observatoire de l'Environnement is a very important structure for the optimal management of environmental and ecological issues. One of the benefits of the Observatoire de l'Environnement will be the usage of ICT in the organizational and accessibility of data to develop innovative and sustainable solutions to environmental challenge. Pollution, climate change, the misuse of natural resources are elements that cause environment degradation. To reverse these trends, constant monitoring and assessment with data-driven decision are needed. And that's where the application of ICT through the set mechanism of Observatoire de l'Environnement will be crucial in bringing sound and scientific knowledge for innovative advancement, for positive change in sustainable development and environmental conservation. Mr. Speaker, sir, as an island nation, all of us must have seen the effects of plastic pollution. We might have all seen plastic products washing up our coastal line. Mr. Speaker, sir, both Rodrigues and the main island Mauritius in the last decade particularly have reacted to the increased knowledge of the bad effect of plastic pollution to our islands by, of course, undergoing important societal change, like, for example, by opting for the use of reusable and biodegradable alternatives to stop or reduce the use of single-use plastic bags. And I have to congratulate the community efforts for understanding the impact of plastic pollution and their engagement in reducing the amount of plastic use. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, we still need to make lots of efforts to considerably reduce plastic pollution to our island and its marine ecosystem. As plastic pollution is not only caused by single-use plastic bags, we also have, for example, packaging of crisps, bottle caps, drink containers. Therefore, we still need to further our efforts to stop throwing away plastics by reusing and recycling. A mandatory deposit return system will effectively address this problem, as this scheme will capture as much plastic products as possible for recycling. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill is about safeguarding of human race from extinction by bringing awareness of our own disastrous impact on our immediate environment, on the urgency in preserving our ecosystem, conserving biodiversity, and the promotion of the well-being of our generation and future generation. Tonight, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am glad for this opportunity given to me to participate in such an important debate. And I also have to thank the Honorable Minister Ramanu and his team for the hard work. And this is my contribution to this debate. I thank you for your attention.
Monsieur le Président, à ce moment propice où nous sommes en train d'avoir les débats sur l'Environment Bill, l'autre côté de la Chambre est quasiment vide. C'est honteux, Monsieur le Président, de voir que sur la liste d'orateurs, il n'y a qu'un seul orateur des rangs de l'opposition. Mais je me demande Où sont donc ces grands défenseurs des droits de l'environnement? Ou même, dirais-je, ces experts en la matière dont on a tant vu et entendu durant le naufrage du MV Wakashio? Monsieur le Président, ils sont premiers à venir à l'avant pour faire de la démagogie quand un drame se produit, tel que le MV Wakashio. Et pendant que nos citoyens souffrent, eux, ils sont seulement concernés à avoir ce que j'appelle cheap political mileage. Mais quand on parle du concret, ils démontrent clairement leur vraie couleur, leur can't be bothered attitude. Ça demande de l'assiduité, Monsieur le Président, d'essayer de voir un projet de loi de 165 pages, n'est-ce pas? C'est facile de retirer le nom pour ne pas parler. Mais c'est aussi facile de critiquer et de dire des choses ici et là. Mais, comme on dit, de tenir le poilon et se mettre à l'œuvre, ceci n'est guère dans leur ADN. Raison pour laquelle, d'ailleurs, je pense que les peuples admirables a choisi qu'ils soient et restent de l'autre côté de la Chambre. Quand nous, de ce côté de la Chambre, we mean business. Nous venons à l'avant pour apporter des mesures correctives et préventives. En tout cas, l'histoire témoignera. À travers les archives du Hansard, ce que les membres de l'autre côté de la Chambre ont légué aux générations futures. Oui, à nos enfants qui sont concernés par ce qui se passe à notre planète Terre. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, to come to the speech and the bill, for me it is with a deep sense of privilege that I am taking the floor to bring my humble contribution to the Environment Bill number 1 of 2024, tabled by Honorable Kaviramano, Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, sir, I dare say that this bill, which comes to replace the almost a quarter of a century-old Environment Act, is yet another groundbreaking piece of legislation that this government is bringing forth. Indeed, this bill is yet another instance that proves, if at all any proof is required, that this government, under the able and wise leadership of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Pravin Kumar Jugnauth, is a caring, daring, compassionate, and responsible government which is determined to not only transform the life of each and every citizen of this country, but also to ensure that our island becomes a beacon of hope amidst the global scourge of climate change and other environmental challenges that the Earth is facing. Thus, besides its legislative framework, this bill is the harbinger of a greater cause, an extremely noble one, I would say, in that it has the potential of profoundly contributing towards the global efforts to give a new lease of life to our planet that has far too long been subjected to all sorts of mistreatment caused by the Gargantuan development frenzy of a so-called modern civilized world. Mr. Speaker, sir, I shall delve in some of the clauses of this bill in a moment, but before that, with your permission, I wish to highlight the fact that the Environment Bill being debated in this House today deeply resonates with the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which emphasize that climate policy, poverty reduction, and universal peace are all inextricably linked in achieving sustainable development. In particular, SDG 15, which is to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of our terrestrial ecosystems, to sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and reverse land degradation, as well as biodiversity loss. It is also in line with our SDG 13, which is to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, and SDG 17, which is to strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Yes, sustainable development, circular economy, and a sustainable ecosystem are the new paradigm for the United Nations and other international organizations. Trillions of dollars are being invested and high-level summits are being held across the world to ensure that this planet becomes a better place to live in. I myself have had the immense privilege and honor of actively participating and contributing to some of these conferences, including the United Nations Climate Change Conference and more recently the COP28 preparatory events in New Delhi and in the United Arab Emirates, focusing mainly on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. As such, Mr. Speaker, sir, I can vouch that the Environment Bill being tabled today does indeed take on board the very ethos, the very spirit, and more importantly, the very core concerns of all international organizations aiming at stalling the often irreversible damages caused to Mother Earth. Small island developing states, SIDS, like Mauritius, wrestle with coastal protection, marine pollution, and coral bleaching, as well as increasing sea level rise and climate-related disasters. These multiple and overlapping challenges exacerbate our inherent vulnerabilities and threaten our ability to achieve the sustainable development goals. But yet, this side of the House has taken the oath to make it happen. Mauritius has pledged to abate the greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by the year 2030. Through this bill, we will be able to effectively implement the obligations of Mauritius under the UNFCCC, the Kyoto Protocol, and the Paris Agreement. This is the reason why I truly believe that the debates on this bill should have no room for demagoguery or unwarranted political mileage. Otherwise, more than anything else, posterity will be too severe a witness to what is being debated today. As I mentioned earlier, besides being a major legislative milestone, this bill not only holds the promise of transforming our environmental landscape for the better, but also serves as a vital step towards securing the health and longevity of our planet. Mr. Speaker, sir, today we stand at this critical juncture in the history of tomorrow. The challenges posed by climate change, pollution, and environmental degradation demand decisive and prompt action. So the first question is, why has the previous bill been repealed? As the Honourable Minister in his opening speech clearly mentioned, it is in light of the lessons that have been learned from emerging local and global environmental challenges, and of course with a view to achieve our targets relating to the SDGs, and also during the Assises de l'Environnement, which were held in December 2019, this was highly underscored. It is also important to take note, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this bill doesn't just come like this, because some people have been questioning, so since 2019 to 2024, what has been happening? The ministers explained clearly that there have been extensive consultations held with ministries, departments, local authorities, public bodies, academia, private sector, NGOs, as well as the civil society. And the public was even invited to submit proposals and comments. And there were a number of working sessions held at the level of the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management, and Climate Change to analyze all the comments and proposals received. A draft bill was then produced by an international legal consultant, and which was even exposed to further consultations held online and in person. So the gist of this transformative environment bill brought to the House today embodies this government's unwavering commitment to address these challenges comprehensively and proactively through key provisions, such as the integration and mainstreaming of environmental sustainability in planning and development through the formulation of a national policy, strategy and action plan on sustainable development and a national circular economy policy, strategy and action plan for every 5 years with a view to achieve sustainable development and the transition to a green and circular economy. The Honourable Minister clearly informed the House on the 10 main themes of this bill, and I will only go through a few of them. The first being integration and mainstreaming of sustainable development to assist the country in engaging into its ecological transition pathway. It is a fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, that ever since this government took power, under the strong leadership of the Honourable Pravin Kumar Jugnauth, the unwavering commitment to the environmental cause is unquestionable. The oath to shape a vibrant, green and sustainable Mauritius through a series of measures and legislations brought from even the Climate Change Act to today this environment bill. It is a fact that Mauritius is spending around 2% of its GDP on environment and climate change related matters and policies. Our Climate Change Act serves as the cornerstone of our commitment to fulfill our obligations under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement, amongst other related instruments. In order to build our resilience, we have implemented a series of adaptation measures such as coastal rehabilitation, mangrove propagation, and flood management programs. We have also formulated low-carbon development strategies and nationally appropriate mitigation actions. Our country aspires to become an inclusive, high-income and green Mauritius, and this government is designing new strategic measures that will allow us to leapfrog to this cleaner, greener, environmentally sustainable, climate change resilient, low emission and circular economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Environment brought about a master plan in 2022 with a 10-year policy and strategy which defines a new mindset and approach to business, strategic partnerships, governmental cooperation through holistic policies for the environment. It includes an updated nationally determined contribution, introduction of regulations banning non-biodegradable single-use plastic products, formulation of a solid waste management strategy, and development of strategies to address vehicular emissions. As I said earlier, we are also investing massively in the construction of drains and coastal rehabilitation programs for eroded sites in terms of priority. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me now come to the Observatoire de l'Environnement, which is the second key theme of this bill, which will be introduced to act as an interface with stakeholders, including the public and any other stakeholders, of course, on environmental parameters. This in itself constitutes a major action towards clean governance. So different actors working separately to create robust bodies of knowledge, but if we can effectively integrate all together and ensure that there is proper dissemination of this knowledge, we will definitely be more effective. And this is what has been recommended during les Assises de l'Environnement. A new platform, which will be called Science to Policy Platform, will also be set up to assist in evidence-based policy making. So the main objectives of this platform will be to improve the use of empirical evidence to support environmental decision-making processes at the level of government, as well as ensuring the buy-in of all stakeholders. The introduction of environmentally sensitive areas, ESAs, which will facilitate the coordination amongst different institutions, as well as the establishment and updating of an ESA inventory and ESA maps, are key factors of this bill that need to be commended. The ESAs are actually places with special environmental attributes which have a crucial value with respect to maintenance of ecological services such as biological diversity, preservation of our soil, water, and other natural resources, and which will also act as buffers against erosion, floods, and temperature extremes. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a fact that the coastal region of my own constituency, which is constituency 11, Vieux-Grand-Port-Rosebel, is one such vulnerable area. Not only are we vulnerable to landslides, soil erosion and flooding, but ils ne sont pas à l'abri des séismes aussi. The week before, when I was to intervene on the bill, that same day I came across an article in the written press of l'Express du mardi 23 avril, where there was a whole article dedicated to constituency 11, mentioning the risk of landslide, which I quote, "Risk of landslide from Quatre Sœurs to Deux Frères is high," unquote. The article also states, I quote, "The wreck of Wakasho was a spoiler and a major polluter. It's a place which has been neglected, but with room for improvement," unquote. But they missed the number of measures being taken by this government to protect those areas. I invite them to have a drive along the coastal region of my own constituency to see for themselves. For instance, the number of works being done from Pointe-Feuille to Grand Sable, which constitute rock revetment, plantation of mangroves, landscaping and greening works, amongst others, with the aim to control erosion, climate change impacts, and attenuate road inundation during storm surge, are a few amongst. If I talk about Deux Frères, Mr. Speaker, sir, which is a small village situated in my constituency, which is low-lying on the southeast coast between the mountains and the sea, and which has been identified as highly vulnerable to coastal inundation and climate change impacts, such as accelerated sea level rise and extreme events. Well, let me tell the House, and à bon entendeur, but to be able to adapt and increase resilience to these climate change impacts, the government and the Ministry of the Environment has embarked on a series of measures, from 900 meters of rock revetment to having perched beaches to new access roads and creating a new waterfront area with parking spaces, recreational areas, as well as spaces for children and youths to have leisure activities, and even for commercial outlets and tuck shops. Mr. Speaker, sir, now if I move from the coast, from Pointe-Feuille to Deux Frères to Grand Sable, and I move to Providence and Bois des Amourettes, I can only say that the works being done are clearly visible and tangible. So from rock revetment to walkways, to new boat ramps being created, to cycle tracks, to even having new stairs up to the sea, with our shoreline being protected against erosion and the impacts of climate change. All these are just but a few measures. Alors, à bon entendeur, je demanderai bien qu'a donc fait l'ancien régime pour adresser ces nombreux défis dans cette circonscription unique en elle-même, comme le dit si bien l'article de l'Express. Well, coming back to the Environment Bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill has the aim of trying to reduce the damage caused by the lack of measures during 2005 to 2014. This bill is not only a national awakening, It is meant to proceed in a structured way with the support of one and all to tackle the escalating hot list of global environmental crises. Mr. Speaker, sir, with climate change challenges, droughts, landslides, and flash floods, and the impacts of which can be very damaging, proper land use planning and development is becoming more and more difficult, and hence it has become a sine qua non to revise the development control mechanisms in the country. And this bill addresses those issues through the landmark reintroduction of strategic environmental assessments, called SEAs. So the proposed introduction of new parameters for the preliminary environment report and strategic environmental assessment framework will have whereby environmental consideration will be integrated into plans and programs right from the planning stage, and the cumulative impacts will be assessed in a holistic approach, taking into consideration the socio-economic interlinkages to ensure environmental protection, management, and conservation. And this will be yet another major step towards enhanced transparency and efficiency. Mr. Speaker, sir, while the EPA previously catered for SEAs, same has been repealed in the past and was duly explained by the Honourable Minister in his speech. I will just add that development in sectors from fisheries, energy, transport, waste management, water management, tourism, real estate, smart cities, bunkering activities, even recreational parks will all now require SEAs. And all this will ensure that development is coupled with environmental protection. This is why, as I said earlier, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the bill being debated today is of groundbreaking proportion and will lay the foundation for a greener, safer, and cleaner Mauritius, and hence a better world for those who, and for the generations who are yet unborn. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now speak on part 5 of the bill, which is on National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. As I said earlier, when the bulk carrier vessel MV Wakashu wrecked on the reefs of Point Destiny off the southeast coast of Mauritius, we were all left aghast at the damaging impacts of the oil spill on our beautiful lagoons and our beaches, especially in my constituency, from Rivière des Créoles to Quatre Sœurs and Deux Frères. No one was prepared for it, and it was the very first in the history of our Zoditis Îles, and we were all worried about the impacts of the oil spill. But I have here to commend the work, the enormous work accomplished by all the stakeholders together and this government, despite having no contingency plan. From the committee set up under the chairpersonship of the Honourable Prime Minister himself, to the collaboration of stakeholders with the Ministry of Environment, local government, to collaboration of international countries, United Nations, international experts, our lagoons, our beaches, and our marine ecological systems have been saved. And today, this bill comes up with a national oil spill contingency plan to ensure quick, properly planned and coordinated response and preparedness to any potential oil spill. A national oil spill coordination committee will be set up and tasked to coordinate the implementation of a national oil spill contingency plan, to advise on policies and administrative measures with respect to oil spill contingency planning, and to ensure cooperation amongst the various stakeholders dealing with oil spill incidents. They will also report to the National Crisis Committee. And subpart B of the oil spill, dealing with emergency measures, also entails the responsibilities of the owner of the spilled oil to report within 1 hour, failing which, as per the provisions of this Act, will constitute an offence. There will also be environmental monitoring of discharges of oil spills, and the cost of such monitoring will be incumbent upon the owner of an oil spill. Mr. Speaker, sir, due to time constraint, I shall not delve on other equally key sections of the bill, such as introduction of a framework for plastic management to achieve the government's vision for a plastic-free Mauritius, a national strategy and action plan for plastic management and sustainable production and consumption of plastics, and other laudable initiatives that this bill brings forth with the National Environment and Climate Change Fund, as well as a number of enforcement measures. And I will choose to conclude. Pour conclure, Monsieur le Président, il faut que nous sachions que le jugement de la postérité serait implacable. Nous devons ainsi avoir l'humilité de comprendre que nous ne sommes que des locataires éphémères d'un monde permanent et qu'il est de notre devoir sacro-saint de léguer ce monde aux générations futures dans un état bien plus meilleur que nous avions hérité, bien sûr. Il faut surtout ne pas perdre de vue le fait que la force de la nature est telle qu'elle riposte toujours à ceux qui tentent de la détruire. Allons donc saisir cette opportunité dont offre ce projet de loi afin de créer un impact positif, de se mettre du bon côté de l'histoire et aussi de protéger et de sauvegarder notre planète pour les générations à venir. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Honorable Ramcharan, you will speak after the break.